let's talk a little bit about feminism. And what's funny about feminism? I mean, we've gone over this many times, but I suppose for anyone just tuning in for the first time, I'm fundamentally against feminism because I believe that men and women are different. Right? I don't even view it as a matter of, oh, well, the modern feminists, the third wave feminists are not real feminists. I don't consider myself a feminist in any way. And the reason I don't consider myself a feminist in any way is because I think the basic premise of feminism is that men and women, both on the outside, kind of the modern sense, but also on the inside, are fundamentally the same. I do not believe that whatsoever. I believe that men and women are fundamentally different in ways that go beyond simply the physical. So obviously men should not compete in women's sports and things like that. But I also think that emotionally, morally, spiritually, in a sense, I think that men and women are separate and distinct from each other. We are equal in value. I don't believe that one is more valuable than the other. Obviously, both need the other to sustain and function in society and continue the human species. But I don't believe that the role of men and women in society is fundamentally the same. And this is why I think that even with all of these barriers removed, these historic barriers where everyone says about gender equality. We have, to a very large extent in the United States today, gender equality of opportunity, I suppose you could say. And you still, even then, I would argue, still see the hierarchy of like natural gender preferences and roles still manifest, which is why there's still a quote unquote wage gap. It's not because women are being actively paid less, but they are indeed pursuing different careers from men. They work differently than men. They have, you know what I mean? Because again, men and women are so different that even if you level the playing field for everyone, you still see the, nature and biology and I think God's design take over. And now feminists are struggling to deal with that. And you'll see in this debate, which is why, we have to just use diversity and make things unequal. But this is true. This is true. Men and women, again, different. And it is very funny about feminism. It is very funny. The second, feminism, I think, in many ways is like a product of a prosperous society, sort of. And not even in a good way. It's in the sense that when you remove the struggle, when people's lives become so unbelievably lax and cush and they don't have any real problems, then they start to let ideas in that are as ridiculous as feminism, right? Look at Ukraine, for instance, right? Feminism there is going out all out the window. And I don't want to hear your propaganda story about how, this one female soldier in Ukraine is like fighting on the front lines, supposedly. I mean, yeah, they can throw you that propaganda all they want. The reality of the situation is there's a reason why the second, things really hit the fan and it's a war zone, what happened to the women? The women are all leaving. They're fleeing to other countries, to Europe, to the United States. They're allowed to flee. It's the men who stay behind and fight. If feminism is so, it's a old talking point, but it is true. It's very used, but it's true. Notice how feminism suddenly goes out the window. The moment you're on the Titanic, it all falls apart. The moment you're in war, the moment when people are actually confronted with the true realities of Earth and not, sheltered by the luxuries of modern society, notice how interesting it is that feminism always falls apart, because feminism is not like a realistic or natural idea, right? It's something we can play around with when society is prosperous. But I would not be so arrogant or naive to think that, we can get away with just defying the natural laws of Earth.
Feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another.
So feminism is incoherent. Correct. That actually confirms my take in the beginning.
As long as there's power and oppression, there will be people fighting for equity.
Translation, as long as there is, it's not power and oppression. As long as there is nature and reality, people are going to always fight, which is true. This is the fallen nature of man. People are always going to fight to change God's natural design of the world. And it just never works. Notice that it just never works, right? And isn't it funny? Look at the correlation between societies that embrace feminism and just completely decline. Do you guys notice that? It's like the US, how long have we been rocking with this feminism thing? Less than a century or so, right? And immediately we went from like the superpower of the world, win World War II, win the Cold War, all this great. And then now it's just like we just in that span of time hits you like a truck. The moment you let feminists run the country, this is what happens.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
I think.
So that's Pearl Davis, by the way. Obviously, as you can tell, going to be one of the right-wing people on the panel. I think, yes, third wave here's like the, I think, proper way to put what she's trying to say. Third wave feminism, yes, is not about quote unquote like equality. It's about putting women above men, etc. But I think the reason for that is because first and second wave feminism failed. Because what do they say? The second you give women all the same, social abilities as men and all this stuff and make society quote unquote equal, then everything's going to be a equal playing field, and it's going to be 50-50, 50% female CEOs, 50% male CEOs, et cetera, et cetera. But then, like I said earlier, and I'm going to keep reiterating throughout this debate, the moment you see the natural design of God for both genders, both sexes, manifest itself still, even with this, the equality, quote unquote, achieved by first and second wave feminism, that's why now the third wave feminists are very desperate to implement equity, because they're seeing that actually when women are even given equality of opportunity, quote unquote, they still, some do, other things, but a lot of them still do what you would perceive to be the things they were doing before in some capacity.
Tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African-American women. And it's always kind of done that. And also like, upper middle class white women has predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
What? Guys, feminism is not good enough because it's not diverse enough. What a take. What an answer. Feminism is good, but it's bad because there's too many white women in it. Got it.
I think feminism is attempting to say is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a black woman and being a black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further.
So they asked her, this is very telling, they asked her about feminism. And as you can see, immediately she brings up, oh, well, also race, also disability. So getting back to the central point, the entire thing is incoherent. Like, what even is it? What is it? Well, it's about woman, but it's also like about race and disability. Yeah, is this like they're all this the whole thing is confusing,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. See, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl. I think there's benefits.
True.
Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from
even true, obviously, but even socially and culturally speaking, now a lot of women will want to deny this. They will argue that it's not true, but. Look at like the even natural social dynamics of culture, right? Just, I guess as one example, a bar, right? Girls get in free, guys have to pay. But that's not just that one dynamic or example. There's sort of this greater cultural and social thing that, if you are a woman in society, and particularly very often if you are a younger woman in society, which, most of the women on this panel are, there's basically an inherent benefit simply that by the fact that like you are a woman, right? And the rest of society will place value on you just for the fact that you are a woman, right? Whereas if you're a man, without creating any type of value for yourself, without building up, whether it's wealth or status or power or even physical strength, height, whatever it is, without any of that, society does not view you as having any real like value of your own, right? For a man, like societal respect is earned, it is created. For a woman, especially a young woman, societal respect is essentially given, right? It's almost a birthright for most women. And I'm not complaining about that. I understand that. I actually think that's the way in many ways society should be, right? It should be that way. But I also think that if it's going to be that way, if we're going to kind of accept the way I think things like naturally should be, it shouldn't be a one-sided coin, right? It shouldn't just be, and this is what many feminists you very often find want, it shouldn't just be that society gives women the benefits of being a female, but doesn't give society, the males, the benefits of being a male, right? And this is what you very often see. Feminists are perfectly fine with men embracing their masculine duties and masculine roles in society. It's just that when they're asked to embrace their feminine roles, then suddenly it's a problem. Oh, let me check the time. What time is it? It's time for you to get a watch, first of all. And secondly, it is time for you to like and subscribe to the channel. So, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you are new, and check out the full Vince Dao show live every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It is the premier political show on the American right. This is so true. This is so true. It's time for you to go watch it. Check us out, 8 p.m. Eastern Time every weeknight.